What surprised me most was the sheer number of young people at the airport, phones out, flags waving almost like a national celebration for a single internet creator.
It's remarkable, and the numbers back it up. Social media clips of Speed's arrival racked up over 1 million views within hours, with hashtags about Zambia trending globally for the first time this year.
But does that kind of viral welcome really reflect deep engagement? Or is it just a fleeting hype? If Speed hadn't posted so much himself, would the turnout have been as massive?
Here's the takeaway. Moments like this challenge the tired narrative that Africa is disconnected from global pop culture. Instead, we see genuine excitement and a sense of pride in being noticed.
And it's not just about celebrity, there's a measurable impact on perception. For example, Google search trends for Zambia spiked by 40% after Speed's visit, suggesting a surge in curiosity from outside the continent.
Still, I wonder if that curiosity translates into lasting interest, or if it fades as soon as the next viral star lands somewhere else. Is this a turning point, or just another internet moment?
Even if it's temporary, the energy and hospitality on display send a message. Zambia's warmth isn't just a slogan, it's a lived reality, and digital celebrities are amplifying that to the world. What surprised me most was how quickly Ishowspeed's energy synced with the local vibe, especially when he picked up those street chants and turned them into viral moments. Here's the takeaway. Zambia's youth aren't just watching global trends, they're remixing them in real time.
Absolutely. And if you look at the numbers, Zambia's median age is just under 18. That's a massive cohort growing up with smartphones and instant access to global content. When someone like Speed visits, it's not just entertainment, it's a validation of their digital fluency and cultural relevance.
But does that validation always empower? Or could it risk overshadowing local voices? If international influencers keep setting the tone, how do we make sure Zambian creators aren't just following, but leading?
There's a balance. Speed's visit amplified local fashion. Remember how he hyped those streetwear looks? Suddenly, what's everyday in Lusaka gets a global spotlight. That kind of exposure can boost confidence, but it also raises the bar for local creators to define their own narrative.
And the amplification effect is real. Social media engagement around Speed's visit, spiked hashtags, TikTok remixes, even local brands getting shoutouts. It's a feedback loop. Global attention fuels local pride, which then attracts more global eyes.
Still, if celebrity influence becomes the main filter, could it dilute what's unique about Zambian youth culture? Maybe the challenge is making sure the digital megaphone doesn't drown out the quieter, homegrown stories.
That's the tension: visibility versus authenticity. But what's clear is that Zambia's next generation is shaping its identity on its own terms, using digital culture as both a mirror and a megaphone. Only after 2 iterations we realized how much the energy shifted when Speed actually listened to Soulflirt Makai's story, instead of just performing for the cameras. That moment felt like a turning point. Suddenly, it wasn't just about viral content, but about real exchange.
That's interesting, because if you look at the engagement metrics from that segment, there was a 40% spike in local shares compared to Speed's usual posts. It suggests that when Zambian voices were centered, the content resonated more deeply with the community.
But does that actually translate to lasting impact for the local creatives? If the global influencer moves on, what's left behind besides a temporary boost in visibility?
Here's the takeaway. When these collaborations are more than surface level, they can spark ongoing projects. For example, after that meeting, Makai reported getting invitations to collaborate with artists from 3 different countries, something that hadn't happened before.
And there's a precedent for that. In similar cases, local creatives have seen a 15-20% increase in international followers after such high-profile encounters. It's not just about numbers, though. It's about shifting narratives and who gets to tell the story.
Still, I wonder if there's a risk of the local context being overshadowed. If the global influencer's brand dominates, do we lose the nuance of what Zambian creatives are actually trying to express?
That's a real concern. But in this case, the collaborations seem to amplify, not dilute, the local message. The key was that Speed stepped back and let Makai lead the conversation, which isn't always the norm in these encounters. What surprised me most was how a single unscripted video of Speed at a Zambian market reached over 2 million views in just 3 days. That kind of organic visibility is rare, And it says a lot about what audiences are hungry for: real, everyday moments, not just curated highlights.
That's a huge spike, and it's interesting because, statistically, most Africa-related content online still leans heavily on crisis or wildlife themes. According to a 2023 media audit, over 60% of international headlines about African countries focus on conflict or poverty. When creators like Speed flip that script, it disrupts the algorithm and the narrative.
But isn't there a risk that even these authentic moments get turned into performances once the camera's on? If local voices aren't leading the storytelling, can we really say the narrative has shifted? Or is it just a new version of the same old gaze?
Here's the takeaway. Collaboration matters. When local creators co-produce or even just guide the lens, you get nuance like the clip where Speed joins a football game with kids, which was actually suggested by a Zambian videographer. That's the kind of partnership that keeps things grounded.
And it's measurable. Engagement rates on those co-created clips were 40% higher than on solo vlogs. That suggests audiences can tell when something's genuinely collaborative versus just surface-level culture sampling.
Still, if the most viral moments are the ones that fit global expectations like dancing or food, how do we avoid slipping back into stereotypes, just with a friendlier face? Should creators be more intentional about what they choose to highlight, or is that too restrictive?
Intentionality is key, but so is spontaneity. The challenge is balancing both, showing joy and unity without reducing a place to a set of tropes. That's where ongoing dialogue between creators and communities becomes essential. Only after 2 iterations of Speed's live streams in Lusaka did I realize how quickly a place can shift from backdrop to active participant. The energy wasn't just about sightseeing, it was about shared moments, spontaneous music, and real conversations.
That's backed up by the engagement numbers. During Speed's Zambia streams, local viewership spiked by over 40%, and there were more than 10,000 unique chat interactions from Zambian fans alone. It's a clear sign that digital platforms can amplify local voices, not just the influencers.
But does that energy last? If Speed leaves and the cameras turn off, what's left for the community? I wonder if these moments can really translate into ongoing projects, or if they just fade once the attention moves on.
Here's the takeaway. When influencers approach a place with openness and genuine curiosity, it sets a precedent for future travelers. Zambia became more than a destination. It became a story co-authored by locals and visitors. The challenge now is keeping that dialogue alive. Even after the spotlight shifts,